Welcome back to FlyEaglesFly News, where we bring you the freshest and most heated takes from the NFL world. Today, the big story is simple. The Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots are heading to the Super Bowl, and honestly, you have to respect what they've done. It might not be the outcome everyone wanted, but when you look at the bigger picture, both teams found a way to win when it mattered most. And that's the essence of championship football, finding a way, even when things look messy or uncertain. Now, let's talk about something that stands out to me. Milton Williams is back in the Super Bowl conversation. This is a guy who spent the offseason with the Patriots, and now he's in the biggest game of the year. That kind of story is rare, because not many players get the chance to win in multiple places, in multiple systems, and still be relevant when the stakes are highest. It makes you think of players like Chris Long, who won with the Eagles and then later found another ring with New England. Those career arcs don't happen often, and they show just how fast the NFL can shift when you make the right moves at the right time. But beyond the storylines, the Eagles have to be paying attention to the lessons here. The Seahawks and the Patriots represent very different approaches, and the Eagles could learn from both. Let's start with Seattle. The Seahawks did something that the Eagles struggled with all season. They trusted their quarterback, and that's not a small detail. It's easy to preach about no turnovers, but sometimes that mentality becomes a cage. People always talk about protecting the football like it's the only path to victory. But the Seahawks showed that you can still win even when your quarterback makes mistakes, as long as the team doesn't panic. Look at Sam Darnold's season. On paper, he had a rough track record with a high turnover number and a lot of criticism. But when the playoffs arrive, the Seahawks didn't overreact. They didn't try to turn him into a different player. They let him play. They trusted him, and they allowed him to find his rhythm. That kind of confidence is rare, especially in today's league where teams are so quick to react to mistakes. But the Seahawks understood something crucial. The quarterback is not a robot, and the offense cannot operate with fear. That brings us to the Eagles. We got stuck in that no turnovers mindset, and it started to define our identity. Instead of playing aggressive football, we began to play scared. We stopped taking those 70-30 chances that make an offense dangerous. When you have elite receivers like Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, you should be willing to risk the occasional mistake, because the reward is what makes your team unstoppable. But for some reason, the Eagles shifted into a conservative mode where we only threw to the safest options. The open ones, the ones that felt comfortable. That's not how you build a championship offense. That's how you build a team that plays not to lose. And you could see the frustration in the locker room. Remember that moment after the Rams game, when Jalen Hurts basically went off on the team's conservative approach. He said they needed to stop playing so safe. And it was one of those rare moments where you saw the real emotion behind the leadership. But what happened after that? The team fell right back into the same pattern. It was like the message never fully landed. We won games, sure, but the offense still felt like it was operating under a fear of mistakes. And when you're talking about a roster built to compete for a championship, that kind of cautious mentality becomes a major problem. The second half of the season showed a different Eagles team. When the offense got out of its own way, you could feel the energy shift. The team looked alive again. The confidence returned. The whole identity felt more like what we expect from a contender. And that's what matters, because being a contender isn't just about winning, it's about winning the way you were built to win. The Seahawks didn't play like they were scared of their own shadow. They let Darnold make plays, even if it meant he would make mistakes along the way. That's the kind of trust the Eagles need to build around Jalen Hurts if they want to truly compete at the highest level. This issue isn't just about Hurts either. It goes back deeper than that. The Eagles have a history of playing to safe with their quarterbacks, and it shows up in how the offense is structured. When you look at the pass coordinators, there's a pattern. They didn't let Hurts be a true dual-threat quarterback. They didn't let him use his legs. They didn't let him push the ball downfield. It's like they were always trying to keep him in a box, trying to protect him from the possibility of mistakes. Shane Steichen was one of the few who let him play more freely, and the results showed. The offense became more dynamic, more unpredictable, and more dangerous. That's the kind of play calling that wins games. So yes, give the Seahawks respect. They did something the Eagles struggled to do. They trusted the quarterback, and they allowed the offense to take risks. And in today's NFL, if you're not willing to take risks, you're going to get left behind. The game is too fast, too competitive. and too unpredictable to play it safe every time. Championship teams don't win by being overly cautious, they win by being bold. And they win by trusting their players to make plays when the moment demands it. Now, shifting to the Patriots. The lesson is different, but equally important. You can argue all day about their methods, but you can't deny the results. The Patriots did something that not many organizations are willing to do. They admitted that the system wasn't working anymore. Bill Belichick is one of the greatest coaches of all time, but even the greatest need a reset. Sometimes, the Patriots recognized that the old formula wasn't getting them where they needed to go. And they made a bold decision. They moved on, they transitioned, and they rebuilt. And now they're back in the Super Bowl. That's the kind of bold thinking the Eagles need to consider. The Nick Sirianni debate is always intense, but you have to look beyond the wins and losses. Yes, the team has had success. Yes, the roster is stacked, but you also have to look at the trajectory. Are we stuck in a pattern? Are we repeating the same mistakes? If so, then the question becomes, is the head coach the problem, or is it the system? Or is it the roster? And the Patriots example shows that sometimes you have to be willing to make the hard decision. Even if it makes people uncomfortable, they didn't let pride get in the way. They didn't cling to the past. They made a move that many people thought was crazy at the time. They went in a different direction, and now they're in the Super Bowl. That's the kind of culture shift that can redefine a franchise. It can reset expectations. It can reignite a team's identity. And that's exactly the kind of shift the Eagles need if they want to stop being stuck in the same cycle year after year. Now, let's move into the offensive coordinator search, because this is where the real tension lies. The Eagles have been linked to a number of candidates, but many of them have already been snapped up by other teams. The list is shrinking, and the clock is ticking. And if you're an Eagles fan, you're tired of the waiting game. You want clarity, you want direction, you want to know what the offense will look like next season. Because right now, it feels like the team is still trying to find its identity every year. And that's not sustainable when you have a roster built to win now. The offense needs a vision. The Eagles can't keep approaching this like they're guessing. They need someone who can come in and say, this is who we are, this is what we're going to do. Whether it's a young, innovative play caller or a seasoned veteran who knows how to get the most out of a quarterback. The point is the same. The Eagles need a plan. They need someone who can make the offense exciting again. Someone who can unlock the full potential of the roster and let Jalen Hurts play like a superstar. And that brings us to the controversy of the Cowboys blocking Clayton Adams. That move felt like a slap in the face. It was a reminder that rival teams are watching, and they're not going to make it easy. But at the end of the day, the Eagles need to focus on themselves. They need to pick a coordinator who can elevate the offense and give Hurts the freedom he deserves, because that's the missing piece right now, and without it, the Eagles will keep repeating the same patterns. The offensive coordinator search is a pivotal moment. The candidates are narrowing, and the pressure is building. The Eagles need to stop overthinking and start committing. Otherwise, they risk wasting the window they have, and that's not something a franchise with championship aspiration can afford. Now, let's keep going. Because the real issue here is not just the coordinator search, it's the entire coaching approach. The Eagles have been navigating this carousel in a way that feels like they are trying to solve a puzzle without looking at the picture. It is not that they have not tried. It is not that they have not been active. The problem is that the timing and the decisions have been questionable. And when you are a team with a roster built to win now, you cannot afford to drag your feet. This is not a rebuild. This is not a we will figure it out in a couple of years scenario. The Eagles are in the prime of their window, and you can feel the urgency. You can feel the pressure. And when the team starts making moves like trying to interview the Cowboys' offensive coordinator, you have to question the logic behind it. It is one thing to look for the best candidate. It is another thing to chase a move that is going to create friction and damage relationships. The Cowboys are a division rival, and that is not just a fun fact. That is a real barrier. The Eagles should have known what would happen, and when Jerry Jones stepped in and blocked the interview, it was not just a power move, it was a statement. It was a reminder that the Eagles cannot treat the division like a free agency playground. There are rules and consequences. The Eagles tried to make a lateral move, and it backfired. They did not get the guy. And now they are left scrambling again now. I know some people will say, well, the Cowboys got Christian Parker because it was a promotion. That is true, but that is the point. Promotions are different. Promotions are understandable. They are part of the league's natural movement, but when you try to poach a coordinator from a rival and you are not offering a promotion, you are basically asking for trouble. It was never going to work, and even if it had worked, was it worth it? Was it worth the tension? Was it worth the distraction? I do not think so. The Eagles need to be smarter than that. They need to focus on building a sustainable coaching structure, not chasing headlines. But the bigger issue here is that the offensive coordinator search is getting smaller and smaller, and the Eagles still have not made a decision. Candidates are being snapped up left and right. Arthur Smith goes to Ohio State. That is one of the names that is already off the board. And then you have the other options that are still in play, but time is ticking. You have guys like Jim Bob Cooter, Brian Daboll, Matt Nagy, and the list goes on. And here is the thing, you have to ask yourself what kind of offense you want. Do you want a veteran play caller who has been there and done that, or do you want a younger, innovative mind who can bring a new identity to the team? The Eagles are at a crossroads. And that is the reality. The team is built with talent. The offensive weapons are there. The defense is there. The roster is stacked, but without a clear vision on offense, you are just guessing. You are hoping. And hope is not a strategy. The Eagles need someone who can take this roster and maximize it. Someone who can make the offense dynamic and unpredictable. Someone who can give Jalen Hurts the freedom to be the playmaker he is. Because when he is in rhythm and he is allowed to make plays, the Eagles are one of the most dangerous teams in the league. But the problem is that the Eagles have been stuck in this cycle of conservative play calling. And it is not just about the coordinator, it is about the culture. It is about the way the team approaches the game. You cannot have a roster like this and play like you are trying not to lose. That is not how championships are won. Championships are won by teams that are willing to take risks and play with confidence. That is what the Patriots did. That is what the Seahawks did. And that is what the Eagles need to start doing now. Let us talk about the narrative that nobody wants to come to Philadelphia. You hear that a lot. And it is one of those phrases that people throw around like it is a fact. But is it really? The Eagles are a storied franchise. They have passionate fans. They have a great roster. They have a quarterback who is one of the best in the league. So why would someone not want to come here? The answer is simple. The perception of dysfunction. The perception that the organization is unstable. The perception that the coaching staff is not supported. That is the problem. And if the Eagles want to attract top-tier coaching talent, they have to change that perception. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. Shockwaves are rippling across the NFC after whispers emerged of a stunning behind-the-scenes agreement between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. League insiders describe it as one of those moves that starts as a quiet conversation and suddenly explodes into a full-blown rumor mill, leaving executives, coaches, and fans scrambling to connect the dots. Nothing has been officially confirmed, but the mere possibility of a surprise trade between these two franchises has already changed the tone of discussions around the conference. According to sources close to the situation, the talks revolve around a bold reshaping of key positions, not a routine depth move. The Eagles, known for their aggressive front office philosophy, are believed to be exploring ways to capitalize on their current competitive window. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, appears open to recalibrating its roster, balancing immediate competitiveness with long-term flexibility. That combination is exactly what fuels speculation of a deal that could redefine both locker rooms. What makes this rumor particularly explosive is the secrecy surrounding it. No leaks about specific names have been solid enough to confirm, yet the profiles being discussed suggest impact players rather than draft pick fillers. Analysts around the league hint that this could involve a cornerstone on one side and future assets on the other. A classic win now versus reload scenario that rarely unfolds quietly. Fans from both cities are already divided. In Philadelphia, optimism mixes with anxiety, as supporters wonder what price might be paid for another push at the top of the NFC. In Tampa, curiosity dominates, with questions about whether this signals confidence in a new core or the start of a subtle transition. Rival teams are watching closely as well, aware that a single move of this magnitude could tilt the balance of power. For now, it remains a rumor, a speculative bomb ticking in the background of the league. But if even part of this chatter proves true, the Eagles and Buccaneers may soon remind everyone how quickly the NFL landscape can shift. When do bold franchises decide to gamble? that's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.